Two cops decided I was a criminal. No questions, no explanations. Just a minute ago, I was David Miller, a nurse heading home after a long shift. And in the next second, my face was burning with shame as the handcuffs snapped shut around my wrists. The air was heavy and dry that evening, the kind where the heat seems to rise right off the pavement. I was standing outside a little convenience store, juggling a plastic bag and my car keys. I just wrapped up a 12-hour shift at County General, one of those days that feels like a blur of patching people up and running between trauma rooms. It's the kind of work you do because it matters, not because anyone is going to applaud you for it. Honestly, I wasn't thinking about anything important. My feet ached, and I was looking forward to getting home, kicking off my sneakers, and digging into the leftover barbecue I had waiting in my fridge. That was my only plan. But right as I was fumbling with my car door, I heard it. The hard screech of tires, then the sudden, sharp click of car doors being thrown open. Heavy footsteps were pounding on the asphalt, coming straight for me. "Hey, drop the bag now!" a voice barked from behind. Startled, I turned around, still clutching my bag with a soda and some nuts. Two police officers were storming toward me. One was stocky, with a red buzz cut and an angry look on his face. The other was lanky, with a serious mustache that didn't quite fit him. Their hands were hovering way too close to their holsters. "I just came out of the store, man. What's going on?" I asked, trying to keep my voice low, non-threatening. The shorter cop, his badge red coal, marched right up and slapped the bag clean out of my hand, like he was swatting a fly. The bottle of soda hit the ground and rolled into the street. "You match the description," Cole barked at me, "so shut it and put your hands behind your back." I just blinked, completely confused. "What description? I couldn't even finish the sentence. The other officer, Rossi, grabbed my wrist, twisted it roughly behind me, and I felt a sharp sting of pain. I saw people by the gas pumps staring. A woman was recording on her phone, and a teenager was just frozen mid-step. Nobody did a thing. The click of the handcuffs was loud in the quiet night. "I work at the hospital," I said through gritted teeth. "I'm a nurse." "Yeah, and I'm the King of England," Cole sneered back. I could have fought them. I could have screamed, but I knew exactly how those stories end for a guy like me. So instead, I just stood there on the side of the road, my cheeks burning with humiliation, my heart pounding a slow, heavy drumbeat against my ribs. I thought about my mom, who always told me to keep your dignity, no matter what. I thought about my uniform, the one I wear to save lives, folded neatly in my closet. And I thought to myself, not now, but soon. But if I believed the worst was over that night, I was dead wrong. It was just the beginning. When I pushed through the station doors into the cool night air, I didn't feel free. I felt like a soda can someone had shaken up and thrown in the dirt, dented on the outside and ready to explode on the inside. But I'm not the type of person who explodes. I'm the type who moves in silence. And that silence was about to become very, very loud. Later that night, I sat alone at my kitchen table. The only light was the weak yellow glow from the fan above the stove. My phone wouldn't stop buzzing. Texts from friends, co-workers, even people I didn't know. Someone had posted the video of my arrest and it was spreading like a wildfire. Reading the comments felt worse than the bruises forming on my wrists. Just another Tuesday for these clowns. He was just buying a soda, man. I kept scrolling, but it didn't help. It just made me feel small. It made me feel tired. For a second, I actually thought about just letting it all go. I pictured myself showing up for my shift the next day, making a weak joke about it, and just pretending the world hadn't decided to spit in my face. But then my eyes landed on the old frame photo on my kitchen wall. It was my father, Reverend Michael Miller, standing tall in his own Army uniform from 25 years ago. He was a man who had seen real war, a man who had faced down hatred, and he only ever taught me one thing that truly stuck. Never let another man take your dignity. You own that. I sat up a little straighter in my chair. I walked to my closet and reached into the very back, past the winter coats and my hospital scrubs. And there it was, my own uniform. The shoes were polished, the creases in the pants were still sharp, the medals from my deployments in Afghanistan, from humanitarian missions in Haiti, from disaster relief after the hurricanes in Louisiana, were all perfectly in place. I hadn't worn it in years, not since I started nursing full-time. I ran my hand over the ribbons. They were a reminder. I wasn't just a nurse, and I damn sure wasn't just some random guy at a convenience store. By midnight, I had a plan. I wasn't going to post an angry video or scream into the social media void. I was going to walk straight into the lion's den and force them to see me. I spent the next day gathering my ammunition. I got written statements from the people who had watched it happen. I took screenshots of the viral video and the thread of comments. I drafted a formal complaint letter, tight, professional, with no emotion and no typos. And I made one more call. An old friend from the service, Ben Carter, who was now a legal advisor for the Army. He agreed to meet me at the station. By the time I zipped up my uniform the next morning, something inside me was different. I wasn't nervous. I wasn't afraid. I was calm. I was ready. But what I didn't know yet, as I straightened my tie and laced up my polished black shoes, was just how badly those two officers had ruined their own lives. The police station looked different in the daylight. It seemed smaller, less intimidating, just a tired old building. I pulled into the lot at exactly 9 o'clock in the morning. I got out of my car slowly, deliberately. The sun hit the metals on my chest and they flashed. Silver, gold, bronze. Little glints of light from a life most people couldn't imagine. Across the parking lot, I saw a few officers on a smoke break stop talking. One of them, a rookie who couldn't have been more than 23, nudged his partner and whispered something. I didn't rush. I smoothed the sleeves of my jacket, adjusted the brim of my cap, and walked straight through the front doors. My boots made a sharp, echoing sound on the tile floor. Behind the glass, the same older woman from 2 nights ago looked up. Her eyes went wide. For a second, her mouth opened, but she didn't say a word. She just pressed the button to buzz me through. The air inside the main room felt thick, and there they were, sitting at a table with coffee and paperwork. Officer Cole and Officer Rossi. I stopped about 10 feet away from them. "Good morning," I said, my voice perfectly steady. "I'm here to file an official complaint regarding an incident involving 2 of your officers." I watched it happen in slow motion. The turn of Cole's head, Rossi's double take. The color drained from both of their faces as recognition hit them like a physical blow. Rossi muttered something under his breath. Cole's hand actually twitched toward his belt, like he was looking for something to hold on to. "Sir," the desk clerk's voice called out from behind me. "The watch commander will see you now." I gave a single sharp nod and followed her down the hall. Waiting inside the office was Captain Eva Rostova. She was in her late 50s with salt and pepper hair and a no-nonsense look in her eyes. And next to her, leaning against the wall, was my old friend, Captain Ben Carter, his own JAG badge clipped to his belt. They both stood up as I entered. Captain Rostova's gaze wasn't on my face. It was fixed on the rows of ribbons and medals on my chest. There was a long silence, a moment where the full weight of what they had done seemed to suck all the air out of the room. "Mr. Miller," Captain Rostova said finally, her voice low and serious, "thank you for coming in." I placed the packet of information on her desk. It was all there. Tight, professional, no yelling. Just the facts, witness statements, screenshots of the video, proof of my wrongful detention, the scrapes on my arm, and the sheer humiliation of it all. My friend Captain Ben Carter placed 2 more sheets of paper on top of the pile. One was a formal notice requesting an internal investigation. The other was an advisory that the Department of Defense would be informed about the mistreatment of active military personnel. Captain Rostova's face hardened. "You understand this is a very serious matter," she said. "I understand exactly how serious it is," I answered, holding her gaze. A few seconds passed. Through the glass window of her office, I could see Cole and Rossi shifting on their feet, watching everything unfold, completely powerless to stop it. Captain Rostova gave a single, sharp nod. "We will be initiating an immediate review," she said. "Pending the outcome of that investigation, both officers will be placed on administrative leave." I didn't smile. I didn't celebrate. I just gathered my copies of the paperwork, tucked them under my arm, and turned to leave. As I walked back through the lobby, I caught one last look at Cole and Rossi. 2 men who thought they were untouchable, who had laughed at me and tossed me aside, were now sitting pale and silent, crushed under the same weight they had tried to put on me. But the real storm wasn't just coming for them. It was already here. By Monday morning, the whole city was buzzing. The video of my arrest had gone nuclear. Local news channels were playing it on a loop. The headlines were everywhere. Nurse and Army veteran wrongly arrested, humiliated on camera. Soon, national outlets started picking it up. By noon, the mayor's office had released a stiff statement promising a full investigation. Back at the station, Cole and Rossi weren't walking so tall anymore. They'd show up for their shifts looking like they had aged 10 years overnight. Whispers followed them down the hall. Cops who had laughed at their jokes a week ago now wouldn't even look them in the eye. Then the official notices started coming down. Administrative leave, effective immediately, an internal affairs investigation launched. A civil rights attorney retained by my legal team. Rossi tried to brush it off with his coworkers, saying it was just a big misunderstanding. Nobody was buying it. Cole just stayed quiet, his face rigid, his hands stuffed deep in his pockets. I didn't have to yell. I didn't have to protest. I had done something much more effective. I had let the truth do all the work. Meanwhile, my life was changing in a completely different way. My phone was flooded with messages of support from nurses, soldiers, and strangers all across the country. Thank you for standing up. You make us proud. We are with you. It wasn't just pity, it was solidarity. One afternoon, I was grabbing a coffee downtown when an older man wearing a Vietnam veteran hat tapped me on the shoulder. You didn't just fight for yourself, son, he said, his voice raspy but strong. You fought for every one of us who's ever been treated like we don't matter. I just nodded, the emotion catching in my throat. Over the next few weeks, Cole and Rossi faced disciplinary hearings. Reports started to leak out that past complaints against them, complaints that had been buried for years, were suddenly being looked at again. It turned out I wasn't the first person they had cornered. I was just the first one they couldn't silence. Within 2 months, both officers were suspended without pay, with an internal recommendation for termination. And quietly, away from the news cameras, other lawsuits started being filed by people who finally felt brave enough to speak up. As for me, I went back to my life. I went back to work at County General. I kept taking care of people. But now when I walked through the hospital, people looked at me a little differently. They saw someone who had faced something ugly and had refused to back down. This was never about revenge. It was about reminding everyone that your dignity isn't something someone gives you. It's something you defend.